The fork clattered against porcelain. Heads turned as the sound cut through the low murmur of the restaurant, sharp and unmistakable. The man at table 7 leaned back in his chair, lips curling into a lazy smile as if he'd planned the interruption. "Excuse me," he said, not raising his voice, yet somehow commanding the entire room. "This is unacceptable." The waitress froze mid-step. Her name tag read Maya. She was black, mid-20s, hair pulled neatly into a low bun, posture straight despite the exhaustion pressing behind her eyes. She'd been on her feet for 6 hours already. She turned slowly, calm, practiced into her movements. "I'm sorry, sir. What seems to be the problem?" The man didn't answer right away. He studied her, taking his time, eyes sharp, expensive watch catching the light as he tapped 2 fingers on the table. Around him sat 3 other men in tailored suits, their plates half-eaten, their expressions already amused. He finally spoke, but not in English. The words rolled out smooth and deliberate, a foreign language laced with a mocking cadence. One of the men at the table snorted into his glass, another smirked openly. Maya didn't react, not immediately. The man's smile widened. He repeated himself, slower this time, exaggerating the pronunciation. The tone was unmistakable now. It wasn't confusion, it wasn't preference, it was humiliation. If you're drawn to powerful stories where dignity is tested and justice unfolds quietly, subscribe to Silent Justice Stories. A nearby couple shifted uncomfortably. Someone at the bar glanced over, then quickly looked away. Maya met his eyes. "Sir," she said, still in English, "if you'd like something corrected, I'm happy to help." The man chuckled. He switched languages again, adding something new, something that made the men at his table laugh louder this time. "Does she even understand?" one of them muttered, not quietly. The man leaned forward. "I'll make this easy for you," he said, in English now, his voice dripping with condescension. "I asked very clearly for medium rare. This is closer to charcoal, but perhaps that's too nuanced." Maya glanced at the plate. It wasn't overcooked. Anyone could see that. "I can replace it," she said. "No," he replied quickly. "I want you to understand the problem first." He turned to his companions and spoke in the foreign language again, longer this time, gesturing casually towards Maya like she was a prop in a story he was telling. Laughter rippled around the table. Maya felt it then, the heat rising in her chest, the familiar sting of being underestimated, talked over, reduced. She swallowed it down. She'd learned how to do that years ago. "I'll get the manager," she said. The man waved a hand. "Sit," he said abruptly. Her brow creased. "Excuse me?" "I said, sit," he repeated louder. "I'm not finished." The room went quiet. Maya didn't sit. "I'm afraid I can't do that, sir." The man smiled thinly. "You work here, don't you?" "Yes." "Then do as you're told." Something shifted in her eyes, not anger yet, but resolve. "I'll get the manager," she said again, turning away. "Don't," he snapped. Too late. The manager arrived quickly, a nervous man with a forced smile and sweat beading at his temples. "Is there a problem here?" "Yes," the man said smoothly. "Your waitress doesn't seem capable of understanding basic instructions." Maya opened her mouth, but the manager raised his hand slightly, not looking at her. "I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding," the manager said. The man laughed. "Oh, I'm sure it is. Tell me, did you hire her for diversity points or charity?" A sharp intake of breath came from somewhere in the room. Maya stiffened. The manager's smile faltered. "Sir." The man cut him off, switching back into the foreign language again, speaking rapidly now. His companions leaned in, listening like it was entertainment. The cadence was mocking, theatrical. The manager blinked. "I'm sorry, I don't—" "That's the problem," the man said in English. "None of you do." He leaned back, crossing his arms. "You see, where I come from, service means precision, excellence, standards." His eyes flicked to Maya, not excuses. Maya felt her hands tremble. She clasped them behind her back. "I can replace your meal or remove it from the bill," the manager offered quickly. "No," the man said. "I want her to apologize properly." "For what?" Maya asked quietly. The man looked at her, genuinely surprised she'd spoken. "For wasting my time." Silence pressed in again. Maya inhaled slowly. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. This wasn't about steak. It never was. "I've done my job. Respectfully." Respect? You wouldn't recognize respect if it spoke 3 languages and signed your paycheck. One of his companions leaned over. "Careful," he said, half joking. "She might cry." More laughter. Maya felt the familiar urge to shrink, to disappear, to apologize just to end it. She'd done that before, too many times. Not today. "I won't apologize." The manager's eyes widened. "Maya?" The man's smile vanished. "What did you say?" "I said, I won't apologize," she repeated, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. "If there's nothing else, I'll excuse myself." She turned to leave. The man stood up so abruptly his chair scraped loudly against the floor. "Sit down." The command cracked like a whip. Every instinct screamed at Maya to run, but she stopped. Slowly, she turned back. The man stepped closer, invading her space. He smelled of expensive cologne and entitlement. "You think you're brave?" he said quietly. "You think you can disrespect me in my presence?" "I think," she said, choosing each word carefully, "that you are used to people staying quiet." His eyes darkened. "You have no idea who I am." "You're right," Maya said. "I don't." The room felt like it was holding its breath. The man laughed again, but this time there was no humor in it. "I could buy this place. I could have you fired before dessert." "Then do it," she said. A murmur swept through the diners. The manager looked like he might faint. The man stared at Maya, something like fascination flickering across his face. "Interesting," he said. "Very interesting." He switched languages again, slow, deliberate, cutting. This time, even those who didn't understand could feel the venom in it. Maya's jaw tightened. She waited. When he finished, he tilted his head. "Well," he asked, "nothing to say?" Maya lifted her chin, and then, calmly, clearly, without raising her voice, she answered him, in the same language, perfectly. The sound of her words landed like a dropped glass. One of the men at the table choked. The manager's mouth fell open. The billionaire froze. Maya met his stunned stare, her expression unreadable as she continued speaking, fluid, precise, every syllable sharp with meaning. And in that moment, the power in the room shifted, hard. If that moment gave you chills, tap the like button, because stories about quiet strength deserve to be seen. A hush fell so deep, it felt unnatural. Maya didn't rush her words. She didn't raise her voice. She spoke with the calm confidence of someone who knew exactly what she was saying and exactly who she was saying it to. She repeated his insult back to him first, word for word. Then she corrected it. Not the meaning, the grammar. The billionaire's face drained of color. One of his companions straightened in his seat. "Wait," he muttered. "Did she just—" "Yes," another said quietly. "She did." Maya finished her sentence and stopped. The last word hung in the air like a challenge. For the first time since he'd walked into the restaurant, the billionaire had nothing to say. He stared at her, eyes narrowing, not with mockery now, but calculation. "You speak it," he said, finally, switching back to English. "How?" "I'm fluent in 5 languages." A ripple of disbelief passed through the room. The man scoffed, trying to recover. "Then why pretend you didn't understand?" I didn't pretend. You never asked. One of the diners near the window let out a quiet laugh before quickly covering their mouth. The billionaire turned sharply toward the sound, then back to Maya. His jaw tightened. So you understood everything I said? Yes. All of it? Yes. His lips pressed into a thin line. Including the part about standards? Yes. And you still chose to stand there. Maya met his gaze. I chose not to shrink. Something flickered behind his eyes. Annoyance, yes, but also something else. Curiosity, maybe even unease. His companions shifted. The mood at the table had changed. What had started as entertainment now felt risky. "You're very confident for someone in your position," the billionaire said. Maya nodded slightly. "I've learned that confidence doesn't belong to job titles." He laughed, but it came out strained. "You think this is a win? I think this is a conversation you weren't prepared for." The manager cleared his throat nervously. "Sir, perhaps we should—" "Quiet," the billionaire snapped, not taking his eyes off Maya. He stepped back, folding his arms. "Tell me," he said slowly, "where did you learn it?" "The language?" she asked. "Yes." "My grandmother," Maya said. "She was a professor. She believed words were a form of power." One of the men at the table leaned forward. "Which university?" Maya glanced at him. "That's not relevant." "It is to me," the billionaire smirked. She considered him a moment. Then, calmly, she answered, in the foreign language again, naming the institution, the region, the field of study. The smirk slid right off his face. "That's not possible," he said. "It is," she replied. "You just didn't imagine someone like me there." A sharp silence followed. A woman near the bar whispered, "Oh my God." The billionaire exhaled through his nose. "You've made your point." "I haven't," Maya said. That surprised even herself. "No?" He raised an eyebrow. "No," she continued. "You spoke that language because you thought it made you untouchable, superior. You used it to humiliate someone you assumed wouldn't understand." Her voice didn't shake, but emotion pressed into every word. Years of being underestimated, dismissed, spoken over. You don't get to decide who's worthy of respect, not in any language. The room was completely silent now. The billionaire's companions avoided his eyes. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he laughed softly, shaking his head. "You know," he said, "most people would be begging for their job right now." "I know," Maya replied. "I'm not most people." The manager looked like he was one wrong breath away from collapse. The billionaire studied her again, slower this time, different, as if seeing her for the first time. "What's your name?" he asked. "Maya." He nodded. "Maya," he repeated. "Do you know who I am?" "I know who you think you are," she said. A few people in the room audibly gasped. The billionaire's eyes flashed. "I built an empire." "And yet," Maya said gently, "you're threatened by a waitress standing her ground." That did it. He turned away sharply, pacing once, then back. His pride was bruised now, and everyone could see it. "You think this ends well for you?" he asked. "I think it ends honestly." The words landed heavier than she expected. The billionaire laughed once more, but this time it was hollow. "You know," he said, "you've got guts, I'll give you that." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a card, placing it on the table. "Call this number tomorrow." Maya didn't move. "Why?" she asked. He smirked. "Because I don't meet people like you often." The manager shot her a pleading look. Maya glanced at the card, then back at him. "I don't need favors from people who confuse power with cruelty." A low murmur swept through the restaurant. The billionaire's smile faded completely. He picked the card back up slowly. "Careful," he said. "Opportunities don't knock twice." "Neither does dignity,"
Maya replied. For a moment, it looked like he might explode. Instead, he laughed, loudly this time. "Fine," he said, "keep your pride." He turned to his table. "We're leaving." The men scrambled to stand, chairs scraping loudly. As they passed Maya, none of them met her eyes. The billionaire paused near the door and glanced back once more. "This isn't over," he said. Maya met his stare. It never was. The door swung shut behind them. For a split second, no one moved. Then, applause. Soft at first, hesitant, then louder, real. Maya stood frozen as claps echoed around her, strangers nodding at her, some smiling, some visibly emotional. The manager stared at her like she'd rewritten reality. I need a minute," he muttered, walking away. Maya's knees felt weak. Her hands shook now that the adrenaline was fading. She slipped into the back hallway, leaning against the wall, breathing hard. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but for the first time in a long time, she hadn't swallowed her voice. And somewhere far from that restaurant, a billionaire was replaying her words in his head, realizing something he'd never expected. He hadn't won.
The next morning didn't come quietly. Maya awoke to her phone vibrating non-stop on the small nightstand beside her bed. She groaned, rolling over, squinting at the screen. Missed calls, unknown numbers, text messages stacking faster than she could read them. She sat up, heart thudding. One message stood out, sent at 6:12 a.m. "Is this you? Someone recorded last night. It's everywhere." Her stomach dropped. She tapped the link. The video loaded slowly. Then suddenly there it was. The restaurant, the table by the window, the billionaire's smug expression, her own voice ringing clear as day as she corrected him in his own language. The caption read, "Waitress humiliated billionaire after he tried to mock her in another language." Millions of views. Her hand pressed to her mouth. Comments scrolled endlessly. She didn't raise her voice once. This is how you shut arrogance down. Why do people still assume intelligence has a look? Protect this woman at all costs. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was her manager. "Maya, we need to talk, now." Her chest tightened. By the time she reached the restaurant, there was already a small crowd outside. Not protesters, supporters, people holding phones, whispering, pointing. Inside, the staff stood clustered together, faces pale with disbelief. The manager pulled her aside immediately. "I've never seen anything like this," he said, running his hair through the air. "Reporters called, bloggers, someone from a morning show." Maya swallowed. "Am I in trouble?" He hesitated. "On what?" Maya asked quietly. "On how you want to handle what comes next." Before she could respond, a woman in a tailored blazer stepped forward, holding a microphone. "Maya, can we get a statement?" The manager raised his hands. "No interviews, not yet." But the damage, or the opportunity, was already out. Across town, in a glass-walled office overlooking the city, he stared at the same video, jaw clenched so tightly it ached. "She made me look like a fool," he snapped. His assistant shifted nervously. "Sir, public sentiment is overwhelmingly on her side." "I don't care about sentiment. I care about control." One of his advisors cleared his throat. "With respect, confronting her again could backfire." The billionaire leaned back slowly, fingers steepled. "Then we don't confront, we reframe." He smiled. "Get me her background." By evening, Maya's world felt upside down. Her phone rang again, this time from a number she recognized from the card he'd offered. She let it ring. Then it rang again. Finally, she answered. "I was wondering how long it would take," his voice said smoothly. "I told you I wasn't interested." He chuckled. "This isn't an offer, it's a conversation." I'm done with conversations that start with disrespect. Are you? He asked. Because the internet doesn't think so. They've decided you're a symbol. Maya closed her eyes. What do you want? To make things right, he said, publicly. She laughed softly. You don't apologize publicly, you control narratives. Everyone does, he replied. The question is whether you want to be crushed by one or shape it. Her silence stretched. I'm hosting a charity gala this weekend. Education initiatives, language programs. You should attend. Speak. Maya's pulse raced. Why would I help you? Because you care about the same things I claim to, and because this platform would be bigger than that restaurant ever was. She thought of her grandmother, of words as power. And if I say no? He paused. Then the story keeps spinning without you. The line went dead. That night, Maya barely slept. By morning, she made her decision. The gala was everything she expected, glittering, polished, intimidating, crystal chandeliers, people who spoke softly but wielded influence like weapons. When Maya stepped onto the stage, the room hushed. She didn't look at him first, she looked at the crowd. I didn't plan to be here. I planned to work my shift and go home. A ripple of quiet laughter followed. But something happened, a moment that reminded me how often people speak without listening, how often power assumes silence means ignorance. She turned then, finally, meeting the billionaire's eyes. I don't stand here as a waitress or a viral clip. I stand here as someone who understands that language, any language, can be used to build bridges or burn them. The room was utterly still. I choose bridges. Applause erupted. The billionaire clapped too, but slower than everyone else. Later, as guests filtered out, he approached her. You did well, he said. So did you, she replied. You stayed quiet. He smiled faintly. You didn't destroy me. I didn't come to. I came to speak. For the first time, he nodded, not in dominance, but acknowledgement. Weeks later, Maya left the restaurant, not in shame, but choice. She accepted a role leading a language access nonprofit, funded anonymously at first. She never asked who donated. She already knew. And somewhere in a boardroom far away, a billionaire corrected himself before speaking, remembering the night he learned that power isn't proven by who you silence, but who you listen to. If this story moved you, subscribe for more powerful stories. Like the video if you believe words matter, and comment below, what would you have said in her place?
The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. Maya's life, once defined by long shifts, orders shouted over clattering dishes and exhausted smiles, transformed into meetings, planning sessions, and public speaking engagements. Every morning she woke with a sense of purpose she had never known. She moved into a small apartment near the nonprofit office, unpacking boxes that carried not just belongings, but a new life. Her phone never stopped buzzing, and yet it no longer brought anxiety. Instead, invitations to speak at schools, community centers, and cultural forums arrived steadily. She'd discovered a rhythm, a voice that didn't tremble under scrutiny, that could command attention without shouting. The clip that had gone viral now opened doors rather than closed them. One afternoon, she found herself in the nonprofit's modest conference room, facing a group of young volunteers. They leaned in, eager, their eyes shining with curiosity. Language is more than words. It's culture, identity, power, and the way we use it can change lives. She paused, letting the words sink in. Don't ever let anyone make you feel small because of what you know or how you speak. Meanwhile, News of the billionaire's misstep continued to ripple through media outlets. Analysts debated, op-eds were written, and his once ironclad reputation showed cracks that couldn't be mended by PR alone. Yet he seemed different. He didn't lash out publicly. He didn't issue the calculated denials and veiled threats he once would have. He observed, he listened, and perhaps, quietly, he learned. Months later, Maya returned to the restaurant, not as a waitress, but as a mentor for a language program the owners had set up, inspired by her story. The familiar clatter of plates and soft murmur of diners was comforting, no longer oppressive. She moved gracefully between tables, speaking to staff, encouraging confidence, reminding them that intelligence and courage weren't bound to titles or uniforms. One evening, as she helped a young employee practice pronunciation in a new language, her phone buzzed with a text message. It was from him. She opened it carefully. "Thank you for showing me something I should have known long ago." She stared at the screen, a faint smile tugging at her lips. Then she typed a single word in reply: "Welcome." As she set her phone down, the restaurant lights glinted off the polished surfaces, illuminating not just the room, but the sense of balance she had fought so hard to achieve. Maya knew life would bring new challenges, but she had discovered a truth that no power or money could take away: that respect, courage, and voice belonged to the person brave enough to claim them. Her story spread far beyond the initial viral clip. It inspired articles, panels, and social campaigns celebrating courage, cultural understanding, and the quiet power of standing up to arrogance. People began sharing their own experiences, their voices echoing hers, forming a chorus of resilience. And somewhere in his towering office, the billionaire watched, perhaps reconsidering the way he wielded influence. For the first time, he understood that real power wasn't proven by who you humiliate, but how you respond when you are challenged. Maya, now fully in control of her narrative, never sought revenge, never flaunted her newfound status. She walked her path quietly but decisively, knowing that the story she had lived and told would outlast fleeting fame or viral sensation. Every time she helped someone find their voice, she felt the same sense of quiet triumph that had carried her through that one unforgettable night. If you were inspired by Maya's journey, hit that subscribe button to follow more stories of courage. Like this video if you believe in the power of standing up for yourself, and leave a comment below sharing the moment you found your own voice. Remember, no one can take away what you refuse to give.